Today, we delve into the pressing issue affecting Australians in 2024, why many are feeling the financial strain more than ever. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese recently shed light on this alarming situation during a revealing interview, and we'll break it all down for you.
Why has, in Australia, household disposable income continued to go down over the last couple of years?
Well, we understand that people are doing it tough. Global inflation has had an impact. Now, inflation peaked higher and earlier overseas than it did here, but our focus has been on providing cost of living support.
Sorry to interrupt, but take a look at this. You talk about the global factor. Other countries, Canada, the OECD average, the US, they're doing better than Australia with disposable income. Why is that?
Because, David, if you look at the middle of the graph, it tells you the story. Inflation peaked higher and earlier overseas than it did here. Interest rates were higher overseas. Inflation was higher and it was earlier. The impact, because of where we are in the supply chain, occurred later here, and hence why inflation, though, that we inherited with a 6 in front of it when we came to office and rising, now has a 2 in front of it and is falling. Real wages are increasing, particularly in areas like childcare and aged care, where we're provided for special increases. We have a rise as well in business investment. We have more small businesses than we've ever had before in Australia.
When is that going to pick up? When are our living standards going to pick up?
And as well, we have produced tax cuts for every single Australian taxpayer.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Albanese appeared on ABC's Insiders program with host David Spearce, where he addressed Australia's declining household disposable income. This statistic, especially when compared to countries like the United States, Canada, and the OECD average, paints a troubling picture of the financial pressures Australians are currently enduring. During the interview, Spearce presented a graph showing how Australian disposable incomes had decreased over the years, lagging behind other nations. He posed a direct question to Mr. Albanese: why is Australia doing worse than countries like Canada and the OECD average when it comes to disposable income? In response, the Prime Minister acknowledged the stark reality and pointed to the timing of inflationary pressures as a key factor. He explained that inflation peaked higher and earlier in countries like Canada and the United States compared to Australia. For instance, Australia's Consumer Price Index, CPI, peaked at 7.8% in December 2022, whereas Canada and the US saw inflation peaks of 8.1% and 9.1%, respectively, several months earlier in 2022. Mr. Albanese emphasized that this delay in inflation impacts was due to Australia's position in the global supply chain. However, he noted that his government had managed to bring inflation down significantly since taking office. When we came to office, inflation had a 6 in front of it. Now, it has a 2 and is falling, he stated. The Prime Minister also highlighted measures his government has taken to address economic challenges. He pointed to special increases in sectors like childcare and aged care, which have boosted real wages in these areas. Additionally, he mentioned increased business investment and a rise in the number of small businesses in Australia as positive indicators. Despite these efforts, the interview sparked criticism online. A viral TikTok sharing parts of the conversation drew sharp reactions from viewers. Comments ranged from frustration over the government's perceived lack of action to skepticism about Mr. Albanese's understanding of the average Australian struggles. One user remarked, "His disposable income is high enough to buy a $4.3 million house. He doesn't understand how hard it is for the rest of us." Adding to the grim outlook, Treasurer Jim Chalmers warned that Australia is facing historically slow growth, with a per capita recession now stretching into its 7th consecutive quarter. Stay tuned to Aussie Pulse for more updates and in-depth coverage on this story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay informed about the issues that matter most to Australians.